Welcome back to the channel, Crypto Trend Trader, with a quick update on Bitcoin. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you it's not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. These markets are extremely volatile, so please do your own research and trade responsibly. Alright, so if you saw the video from the private group that I shared on the regular channel, you'll see that this area here in yellow was a key resistance that we were paying attention to. And if we just zoom out to the big picture, essentially all that is we have our top resistance at like 20,000. We have our second main resistance here at 14,000, and then same with supports down here. We have one at 38.80, and then we have one down here at 3,000 and basically like 75. So that was the four main areas that we're paying attention to. And the idea being essentially that we weren't as worried about the actual wicks themselves or the candle body closes, but just where the resistance was in place. And so that's basically where we crept on up to. We were able to find support on the parabolic star here and continue to move up. And we came up to this key area now, and we are finding some resistance. On the weekly, it doesn't look bad. It looks like we're going to get potential continuation, possibly a cross back to the upside. But if you pay attention right here, a lot of times what will happen here is you'll get that attempted cross back to the upside, and then it'll fail and sell back off. So we got the hard sell signal, and then since that time here, we basically crept up to a higher price. So we're just essentially coming up here and essentially testing that key area once again to try to get that push back up. Now a lot of times that'll act as resistance, will sell off and then find support and continue to the upside, but also it can get just completely rejected, and then we can get continuation back in the direction of the predominant trend. Now here what essentially happened was we moved up to that exact resistance that we're paying attention to, the one that I pointed out, and then we immediately started dumping down here. Now, what I like to pay attention to see if we're going to potentially top out is to see if the candle, when we get a sell-off like this, takes out at least 50% of the previous candle. So now here we've already tested it, but we haven't closed, obviously, so we still have like the better part of the day before we close. But if in the next 12 hours we see that candle come down here and essentially close somewhere below that area at 13,320 area, it essentially looks like a topping pattern to me. Now, once again, we're already at the top of the range here on the Jewel Thief. We basically found support on the previous attempt to cross back to the downside, push back up higher. We got a lower high on the knife stab up here, and then we continue to move on up, which again is bearish divergence developing. And then essentially now what's going to happen is, we could potentially find support one more time and move up again, or more realistically, we'll likely get the hard sell coming out of this area right here. So we have the distribution zone, we have the bullish control zone here, and then we'll leave the red area, and then we'll get a hard sell like this. And when we get that hard sell, that's telling us essentially one of the most reliable indicators that we are in fact going to exit this area and get a more violent move back to the downside. Even if we don't enter back into a bearish trend, we'll at least probably get the retracement from this previous move right here. So if we just look at this fib just on the like the micro scale right here and pay attention to it, if we came down to the 0.5, that would put us back at about 11,680. If we came back to just the 382, retest the top of that previous wave over here, put us back to like 12,150. But we really need to pay attention because the stock market and crypto have been correlated for quite some time, and as money flows in from institutional investors into crypto, that's going to make them even more and more correlated. So when we see a strong sell-off in the stock market, it's going to be more than likely going to see a strong sell-off as well in crypto. So and then here we have back to the 4 hour now. This is what we're really paying attention to. The top of the TJD TD MACD right here, and then the top now that we're putting in and starting to sell off. We have a high here, we have a much lower high here, we have a high here, we have a much higher high here. So we need to pay attention to that, as that's essentially putting in once again bearish divergence as well. So and we are right at the area where we normally get rejected, coming back up to the positive blue slope, attempting to push back above it and then failing to get above it, selling back off. That's one of the most reliable continuation short positions, and then especially when you take out the high like that. So we have divergence, we have a rejection of the Stoch slope potentially, and then as well, same thing right here on the Jewel Thief. We can just zoom in on that one. you'll see that we came up here, we put in a high right there, and then we came up and put in the same high right here, and now we're finding resistance at the same point. And then once again, the knife stab up here and the knife stab up here. So, you know, more than likely what's going to happen here, if we can't find support on the 21 and maintain it, we're going to come down and test the 50-55, followed by the 89 at 12,460, and then eventually come back down to the 200s, and then we can really pay attention to if we find support or not. So let's go to the SPX real quick and look at the S&P. And just like we had said a while back, you know, we put in our high, we came down, retested this area, found support, and then moved back up. We came all the way back up to the 886 of this previous move right here, and then we failed to put in a higher high, and now we're coming back down. And this is on the daily. You'll see that we got the daily cross on the 821 to the downside, the bearish cross back here, followed by continuation move, and then we put in our lower high, and now here we are once again getting ready to get that daily cross. So if we confirm that daily cross again, more than likely, even if we come down here and do the double bottom on that previous move, it's going to put us right at the 200 exponential, or a little lower for the 200 simple. But we came down already and essentially got back down to that 236, you know, confirming potentially that this is in fact the top for traditional markets. And then at that point in time, you know, we would just look at our Fibonacci's. So our next move would be potentially down to like that 29.69 range, so like 29.70. But, you know, we really need to pay attention here and just see what happens, because obviously this is going to be the leader for pretty much all markets. So, and then once again, if we switch back over to the DXY, you'll notice we put in that low down here, put in that bottom, attempted to push back up, got all the way back up to the 89, came back down, and now we put in a higher low, and now once again we're moving back to the upside, at which point in time I would expect to get that move to the 200 exponential or 200 simple. So just like we were talking about, you know, this is a bottoming pattern right here, but because of the time frame that we've been looking at this on, switch over to the weekly, you can see very clearly that, you know, we did in fact put in a higher low right here on the weekly, and we're moving back up. So if we do get that continuation, you know, once again, take out this parabolic SAR to the downside, take out the red SAR, flip it over green, and then I would expect us to come back up to like 95.52. But, you know, essentially what this looks like is just we're coming back down for like a W pattern, and then the measured move will be from the previous neckline right here that we're building. So you can essentially just look at it like this is our neckline right there. So when we get that move back up, it's going to be from the bottom, you know, to the neck is the measured move. So if we just put that from the break right there, that's what we're going to be paying attention to. At which point in time I would expect to see, you know, obviously the dollar continue strengthening would mean that most other assets are going to continue to sell off. So, and we did get our green histograms on the weekly time frame, a bunch in a row, followed by only one red. We got our green bearish control zone, followed by the hard buy exiting the control zone, which is when we got that big pump up here. So when we came back down for the retest and it held strong, you know, that looks very clearly like, you know, most assets are going to be selling off, and the dollar is in fact going to be strengthening in relation to, you know, basically everything. So, and once again, that is like, you know, contrary to what everyone else is saying. Everyone else has been talking about the dollar weakening and how it's going to continue getting weaker and how they were going to print all this money, but there's been no additional stimulus. There's still billions and billions of dollars just sitting around that hasn't even been spent from the previous bills they've done. You know, there's no reason to think that at any point in time that all of a sudden the dollar is just going to start weakening again when, you know, other countries are printing trillions in the same way, you know, and this is in relation to everything around the world. So, you know, the charts will tell you the truth. You know, you can presume what's going to happen and presume about stimulus talks and all that stuff. But in the end, the charts had told us essentially what was going to happen before it ever did. And again, this looking at the weekly chart. So this has been telling us for the last few months exactly what was going to happen and how it was going to play out. So even though we did see like a small move up here in Bitcoin continuation after like the S&P and traditional markets had already topped out, you know, a lot of times that's just a short squeeze, or essentially it's like dead money that's just sitting around. People want to put it somewhere. So they'll pump up an asset that has like you know, a little less market cap. They can move it a little bit easier. So I suspect that's probably what's been happening with crypto. And a lot of people have gotten extremely bullish. But, you know, once again, we're just paying attention. You know, you only really needed 4 lines on your chart to see exactly where our target was and, you know, where we're going to find resistance. Now, once again, I'm not going to get bearish on this asset. It doesn't mean that there's no way we can get continuation to the upside. But based on what's going on right now and how everything looks, you know, it definitely looks like we're putting in our top here. We'll have to play it by ear and everything, but this is obviously a key take profit area. Or if you're not selling spot, an ideal time to be putting in short positions to cover yourself. So. But again, that's not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. These markets are extremely volatile, so please do your own research and trade responsibly. Once again, I want to thank everybody who has been wishing me all the well wishes. As you may have noticed, I am starting to sound much better, starting to feel quite a bit better as well. Although, I'm still a little low on energy and been sleeping much more than usual, but definitely starting to feel better and feel like I'm at least on the back end of this. So once again, I really appreciate everybody in the group, everybody that has reached out and given me their well wishes and, get well soon, etc., etc. So there you have it, guys. Crypto Trend Trader, and I'm out of here.